closed and just settle into a comfortable position. And as you're beginning to settle, I invite you to begin to allow your senses to open to the environment and the sounds around you. The sensations where the air touches the skin. Sensations where your body is supported by the chair. Allow my voice to become your voice as I guide your awareness around your body and the sensations within. Becoming aware of the sensation of your jaw, your mouth and your ears. The skin of your face, your nose and your eyes. Feeling the sensations of the air as it touches your face. Moving down to your neck and your shoulders, and the natural lightness or heaviness in your arms and hands. Feeling the gentle rise and release of your chest as your breath gently flows in and out of the body. The legs and the feet, feeling the pulse of the life force that animates every atom, molecule, and cell throughout your body as a field of radiant and vibrant sensation. And as you continue to settle into and open to your meditation, I invite you to reflect and to ask yourself, what is my overall intention for the ceremony today? Maybe it's pure awareness, undistracted by arising content of the mind. Maybe it's something that you're being called to be. Maybe it's to draw closer to the divine, or to strengthen that connection within. Just allow those thoughts to come. Welcome and affirm spontaneous and heartfelt intentions that arise within you. Feeling support of the life force, feeling yourself living in harmony with yourself and with life within. affirming your intention with your entire body and mind. And as we enter into a moment of silence, I invite you to visualize your life and imagine the feeling. Capture the feeling of fully living your intentions. Envisioning the actions you're taking in your life with respect to yourself, others, and the world around you. Feeling your intention as we enter into the silence. And as you begin to bring your awareness back to this space, back into this present moment, I invite you to allow your body, mind, and heart to resonate with a sense of harmony and well-being and gratitude as you live from accomplishing your intentions, as you live from that space. When it feels right, setting your intentions free to actualize themselves, both during your meditation practice and as you go about your daily activities of life. Again, affirming it with your entire body and mind. Allowing it to gently move through you and as you continue to come back to this space in this present moment. Permeating into the state of waking consciousness. And we breathe in and we breathe out with an audible sigh. So it is. Namaste. As we prepare for the new year. Now I'm going to invite you to share in this very personal ritual here in a few minutes, but you've all been given a white stone that Pete's had us hold in our hands when you came in, and also know that those white stones have been held in prayer by our prayer chaplain ministry over the course of the week, so they're also infused with prayer today. Now we're going to use this ceremony to identify our intention for the year. thinking about what it is that we would like to fill that empty space with, that empty space of whatever we released last week or whatever you've released at another time. And please don't worry if you did not attend our burning bowl here. The talk is recorded on YouTube, so you can go back and watch it and release with us, or just have your own ceremony at home. It doesn't matter. Whatever you feel works best for you. Now, a bit about our white stone ceremony. The ceremony has its roots all the way back from the Bible. And it was first talked about in the book of Revelation, Revelation 2:17. And it said, "Let anyone who has an ear listen. To everyone who conquers, I will give some of the hidden manna. And I will give a white stone. And on the white stone is written a new name that no one knows except the one who receives it." So there are a couple things in that biblical verse to take note. It mentions both an action and it mentions a promise. So the first action is listening. And listening is something you probably are more familiar with practicing here at Unity, called meditation. Now, listening through the act of meditation is a bit different than what we probably normally think of when we talk about or think about listening. We aren't listening with the outer ear. We are instead listening through the ear of the soul, often known as that still small voice. I remember when I was in Sunday school as a child, I was growing up Baptist, and my Sunday school teacher would tell me, "Well, has God spoken to you yet?" I'm like, "I have not heard it. I don't know." But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about hearing with that still small voice that's within. Now, when we listen for that still small voice, it takes us out of our intellect, out of here trying to reason with everything, into our hearts, which is where we have that connection with God or the divine. It is a tool to help us quiet our busy mind, allowing us to begin to listen to that divine voice of wisdom. And when we open our minds and our hearts to a deep intuitive knowing when we do this, when we listen and we go within, and after a while, we'll also begin to trust that intuitive knowing. We'll begin to trust that voice within. And we also get more adept at it through our meditation practice. But in order to do that, we need to meditate. That's the best way to get used to listening to it. Another activity mentioned in Revelation is that of surrender. Now, the biblical passage in Revelation says, "To everyone who conquers." Now, the conquering, it's not talking about an outer war that's going on outside somewhere in another country or outside of these walls. It's talking about an inner war which is taking place in here. To everyone who takes the time to listen to the still small voice. To everyone who practices release and affirms their inner spiritual qualities. We realize it requires surrendering personal will to the divine will. And it begins to become a matter of trust, knowing that you trust that inner small voice that comes with meditation. The more you listen to it, the more you begin to trust it. It's from coming within, and all kinds of things can begin to affect us outside the self. So as we get used to going within and trusting that stuff within, what starts happening outside the self won't affect us. It's like if we constantly search for peace and happiness outside of ourselves, whatever we search for in the outer realm is likely going to leave us searching for quite a while, isn't it? And why is that? It's because it's found within. When we find those things within, it becomes a different story. We can be sitting in the middle of a hurricane, the wind's blowing crazy, the windows shuddering, but it's not going to matter because we've got that calmness within. We've got that place that we can go to within. Now, I mentioned that the passage in Revelation also contains promises. It contains both actions and promises. It said, "To everyone who conquers, I will give some of the hidden manna. And I will give a white stone, and on the white stone is written a new name that no one knows except the one who receives it." So the first promise is hidden manna. Now, when I was a kid in Sunday school, we were taught that it meant bread, that manna was bread. But that's not actually what it means when you take a deeper look. Okay, I was going to say, I got a quote by Charles Fillmore in there, but it's coming later. So anyway. But the Bible talks about manna in its parables about Moses. In the days of wandering in the wilderness, Moses was walking with the people, and it mentioned manna. And it talked about how manna was sent to the people and Moses by God. The people only had to go out and collect it each day, and they didn't have to do anything to earn it. If they tried to save it, it spoiled. When we are in the wilderness of our spiritual searching, we receive hidden manna. It doesn't require us to do anything but to be bold and actually step out into the wilderness, making ourselves vulnerable, making ourselves open to the divine, to being able to trust. And that hidden manna is not visible to the world. And why is that? Because only we know what the divine is telling us within. We are the only ones that can be responsible for that connection and that relationship with the divine within. And we're given spiritual energy and nourishment from manna that sustains us, which is grace. It nourishes both the soul and the body, and it benefits the whole being. And here's my quote by Charles Fillmore. Charles Fillmore, our Unity co-founder, referred to manna as the realization that the divine substance is everywhere present. All we have to do is be willing to grab it. The second promise of Revelation is a white stone. The source of the white stone is all the way back from the time of Jesus. When a prisoner was released from prison during that time, he or she was given a white stone. And that white stone was to symbolize their freedom and to prove to anyone who asked that they had indeed been released from prison, that they had paid their debt. It was a symbol that they were released, they were free, and that they had paid their debt. As long as they had that white stone, they were assured of freedom. Nobody would try to grab them and take them back to prison. That person was free from bondage or free from any kind of restriction. So how does that affect us today? We're not given white stones when we're released from prison, and we're not carrying around white stones on our bodies to show that we were released from prison. So what does it mean for us today? Each of us comes, when we look at it from a metaphysical or a spiritual perspective, each of us comes from a bondage of sorts, of past nonsense. Maybe the ego telling you you're not good enough. Maybe the ego telling you you can't do this or that, or that you'll never accomplish this or that. False limitations, old beliefs, error thinking that have been a prison or a bondage of a sorts. With a release from bondage, from that internal prison, comes a sense of worthiness. We are beloved of God, one with the divine, and we are always free and we are unlimited. So the third promise in Revelation is a new name. Now in the Bible, it talks about many name changes. For example, Saul, which means personal will, was said to be struck to his knees. He was blind for 3 days, and because he couldn't see with his outer eyes, he had to begin to look within. And he was given a new name at the time of his awakening. Saul was transformed to Paul, which means enlightened will. He's a symbol of human will that surrendered to his divine will. He got out of the ego and went inside and connected with the divine. And in that surrender, he claimed his divine power. Now, the story of name change is common throughout biblical mythology. The prophet Isaiah once stated, "The lower consciousness shall see your freedom, and you shall be called by a new name that the mouth of the Lord will give." Abram, as he grew in his spiritual awareness, became Abraham. Sarai became Sarah. Jacob became Israel. Simon was renamed Peter, which meant faith. So when we awaken to inner spirit, we begin to take on a new identity, a new name, so to speak. Now, this doesn't mean that we have to literally change our names. If you feel called to do that, that's fine, but it doesn't mean that we have to literally do that. Most biblical names contain a specific meaning to the parable in which they're told, more of a metaphysical meaning. Maybe your new name is to set a new intention on your stone. Maybe it's something such as just writing faith or love, or maybe it's a literal name that means one of these things. Only you can know, because only you can hear that still small voice within yourself. Only you know what it is telling you. And regardless, your new name or intention creates a new awareness of your God self, your connection with God. And this is where the ceremony, the white stone, comes in. In this passage, we were told, I will give a white stone, and on the white stone is written a new name that no one knows except the one who receives it. Now, you've all been given a white stone today. Pete's had us hold them in our hands a few times. And this white stone is actually a stone from Jerusalem. And if you want to see more about that, there's some little cards in the basket back there with the white stones. And I encourage you to grab one on your way out because it's actually very interesting. And I didn't know that until about 2 years ago that they're actually from Jerusalem. But I invite you to now pick up your stone and to hold it in your hands. And as you hold it, I invite you to open your mind to hearing your intention. Hearing it with that inner small voice. Allowing yourself to ask the question of, what am I called to be or to exhibit in this coming year? And at any time in the next few moments as I'm speaking, if the new name comes to your awareness, write it on your stone. If nothing comes to you during this ceremony, that is perfectly okay too. Take your blank stone home with you and continue to ask. Because whenever we ask, there is always an answer. Your intention or new name may or may not be connected to that which you released at the burning bowl. Either way, it is okay. Allow your intellect and your intuition guide you into your deep inner knowing. Your awareness of divine love and wisdom that's within. Listen for a moment to that still small voice and to consciously begin to surrender to that within the next few minutes. I invite you to open your imagination and to allow wisdom to speak. Maybe there's a new career, a new title, or a new quality that Spirit is pressing out through you. Give yourself permission to know that as you release that which no longer serves your highest good, you can claim a new quality, a new name, or set an intention. Allow this to be a moment in which you are free. Free from those prisons or anything that has put you into a place of bondage. Just breathe in and live in this new beginning. And as that name becomes clear, write it on your stone. And if a new name has come to you, I ask you to remain quiet and still. Just allowing yourself to ask for a deeper understanding. Maybe you don't understand it now. Maybe that understanding will come later. And to just go within and ask of any steps you are to take. In this moment, allow yourself to simply open to Spirit and to quietly affirm to yourself, God in me reveals my true essence. God in me reveals my next step. God in me lives a joyous, peaceful, and fulfilling life. I invite you to now go within these next few moments and allow yourself to hear that still small voice. And I invite you to, any time you look at your white stone, to allow it to remind you that you have the gift of choice. The gift to live differently, and the gift and the choice to live a more fulfilling life. The gift to always be able to begin again. Doesn't matter whether it's January 1st or August 1st. You always have the ability and the gift to begin within. And you've always got the gift to connect with God, the divine, and to create with the God or the divine. The white stone carries a new name, and if it doesn't, it will when it comes to you. The new name or intention is the spiritual identity in a deeper awareness of your soul's journey at this time in your life. No one in this entire universe, except your inner wisdom, knows what this new name is. But it has come to your awareness to be lived out. It has come into your awareness to be expressed and to be embodied as you. It's what your true self or the divine is calling you to be or to do. It is a whisper from your soul that you are so much more than you have let come into expression at this point. Jesus said, "It is your Father's good pleasure to give you this kingdom." Accept this consciousness of ever-increasing good in your life. Allow it to be. Don't resist. Let your white stone be the reminder of who it is you are called to be. And I invite you to carry this white stone with you as a reminder of that promise. And I invite you to allow a thankfulness to flow over you as you've received your new name. Along with that comes power and guidance to achieve all that we desire. This is our new name. We see it and we decree it. And we are on the path to gaining greater insight and awareness in a new beginning. Can I ask you to say this with me? I'll say it. We see it. Can you repeat that with me? We see it. And now can I get you to say with me, we decree it. We decree it. Now let's do I. I see it. I see it. And I decree it. Namaste. Namaste.